Well, welcome. If you are new or visiting, my name is Matt. I get the joy of being the priest in this beautiful community. And we're live on TikTok, everybody. And so there's some love coming out for you guys on here. So I want to dive into two things today. The first thing is our heart. And the second thing is our heart towards money and giving and what that looks like. And so we're going to dive in. And we're looking at Mark chapter 7. If you have not got a Mark's gospel, there are some just on the table behind Aaron, and so you can grab one and a loaner one from there. And so Jan, come on up, and Nelson, will you come up and will you read for us? Can we welcome these guys, everybody? Come on in.
So reading Mark 7, 1 to 23. What makes people unclean? The Pharisees gathered around Jesus. So did some of the teachers of the law. All of them had come from Jerusalem. They saw some of his disciples eating food with unclean hands. That means they were not washed. The Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands to make them clean. That's what the elders teach. When they come from the market, they did not eat unless they wash. And they follow many other teachings. For example, they wash cup, pitchers, and kettles in a special way. So the Pharisees and the teachers of the law questioned Jesus. Why don't you disciples live by what the elders teach? They asked. Why do they eat their food with unclean hands? He replied, Isaiah was right. He prophesied about you people who pretend to be good. He said, these people honor me by what they say, but their hearts are far away from me. Their worship doesn't mean anything to me. They teach nothing but human rules.
Thank you so much. Woo! Yeah.
All right, verse 8.
Thanks so much.
You have let go of God's commands, and you are holding on to teachings that people have made up. Jesus continued speaking. You have a fine way of setting aside God's commands. You do this so you can follow your own teachings. Moses said, honor your father and mother. He also said, anyone who asks for bad things to happen to their father or mother must be put to death. But you allow people to say that what might have been used to help their parents is korban. Korban means a gift set apart for God. So you no longer let them do anything for their parents. You make the word of God useless by putting your own teachings in its place. And you do many things like this. Again, Jesus called the crowd to him. He said, listen to me, everyone. Understand this. Nothing outside of a person can make them unclean by going into them. It is what comes out of them that makes them unclean. Then he left the crowd and entered the house. His disciples asked him about this teaching. Don't you understand? Jesus asked. Don't you see? Nothing that enters a person from the outside can make them unclean. It doesn't go into their heart. It goes into their stomach. Then it goes out of the body. In saying this, Jesus was calling all foods clean. He went on to say, what comes out of a person is what makes them unclean. Evil thoughts come from the inside, from a person's heart. So do sexual sins, stealing and murder, adultery, greed, hate, and cheating come from a person's heart too? So do desires that are not pure and wanting what belongs to others. And so do telling lies about others and being proud and being foolish. All these evil things come from inside a person and makes them unclean.
Thank you. Can we thank these guys? Okay, I want you to take 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds, and just ask the person next to you, what's one thing that stood out for you? If you missed Unlimited over the last few weeks, just want to share a little bit of our vision. Our vision is that we become a multi-generational family on a mission to do two things really beautifully. Firstly, go all out for our unreached rising generations, seeing them come alive as they encounter who Jesus is. And people say to me, why focus on the rising generations and not every generation? And it's because every generation has a part to play. It's not that we're kind of like just looking at our youth, just looking at our students, just looking at our kids. What we really want to do is we want to be a family on a mission for those guys. All in together. Secondly, we want to be the miracle people in the middle of the city. I love that people turn up to this place and they're like, Matt, I need a miracle right now. And we get to pray for people and see God work. And so we're going to dive into this text, Mark chapter 7. And I think it's really interesting about the teaching of money and our hearts. Our hearts are so entwined with what's in our wallet, what's in front of us, what we can get or not get, what we feel is impossible or possible. Our hearts and money are so intertwined. And so I want to talk about this morning. Verse 5. So the Pharisees and the teachers of the law questioned Jesus, why don't your disciples live by what the elders teach? It's interesting, this, isn't it? The Greek states that the scribes and the religious leaders are asking the question, that they use the word walk. Why don't your disciples walk in accordance with the way of the elders and the teachers? This word walk is a metaphor for living a certain way and how we carry ourselves into God's presence. Joel Marcus, he said this, the word walk is a metaphor for living a certain way. It's interesting, isn't it? How are we walking today? How are we carrying ourselves into the presence of Jesus? This whole passage starts with Jesus and the Pharisees. The Pharisees are the religious elite, the leaders, the people that used to run, the religious services. They were like, I guess they were like me of their day. They were the priests of the day. And he's facing off with them as to what it means to live our lives in relationship with God, carrying our whole selves into the presence of God, doing our best to love him with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind. And the question that arises is, what does this really look like? What does it really look like to love God with everything that we have? Is it just what happens on the outside, what people see, the things that we do? Or is it what happens on the inside, our hearts, our minds, our attitudes? And then he leads his disciples to believe that behavior happens because of an inner world, an inner life. What happens inside is what matters. Mark 7 verse 6, he replied, Isaiah was right. He prophesied about you who pretend to be good. He said, these people honor me with what they say, but their hearts are far from me. A bit like, have you got a mate where they're like, you've got a mate where you're like, yeah, we're good, yeah, we're good. And then they like slag you off behind your back. Have you got a mate like that? Or you meet someone and you're like, oh, I really don't want to see this person today. And you see them and like, hey, how you doing? Like, this is what is happening here between us and God. Sometimes, and this is what God is Jesus is speaking into. What I find interesting here is what Jesus is doing. He's taking shots at the Pharisees, the religious elite, the teachers of the law, the people who know the law inside out. And the Pharisees aren't doing anything necessarily bad or prohibited or wrong. But what they're doing is that they are allowing their outer world to dictate who they are rather than their inner world. What they're doing isn't necessarily unholy. What they're doing isn't necessarily bad practices that aren't grounded in the scriptures, that aren't grounded in things that God delights. But R. Alan Cole states, these practices were originally aimed at honoring God as being extensions and perhaps legitimate biblical principles. But their hearts are flatlined. Their hearts aren't in it. They do it to put on a show. But their inner world is in turmoil. If this is true, what is Jesus' issue? Why is he saying, you do all the stuff, but you're far from me? He's stating again, your heart is dead to God. For them, it is all about religious practice, but there is no relationship. And I've said it before, again and again, the devil is sneaky in the way that he tempts us. Not everything he throws in our path is a bad thing. And the question is it the right thing? When it comes to our resources and the way that we live, we often get tempted to hoard our resources, whether it be time or money or effort or energy or headspace. And we have to ask the question, is this the right thing? When it comes to our money, a good example, it's not a bad thing to pay off the mortgage, is it? That's a good thing. We want financial security. But when it comes at the cost of being our main identity and the main thing we work for, there's an issue there. There's nothing wrong with investing into local charities. I pray that you generously sow into charities that change people's lives. But when we do it because we want to look impressive or because our friend is running it, it's not quite the right attitude, is it? Or we invite friends and family around. I don't know if you invite friends and family around who are struggling to put food on the table. All of these things are good biblical principles. Please don't stop them. But speaking personally in the past, I've done these things in place of giving to the needs of the local church. It's not that I didn't believe in the needs of the local church. It's just that I thought the money was better spent there. Or, perhaps I thought, hey, if I do this, people will be impressed by me, if I'm really honest. Or if I do this, perhaps I might get into a different kind of circle. I think what we're called to do as Christians is to selflessly give to a local church. Give an offering to God without expectation in anything in return. This has been a biblical, scriptural practice dating back thousands of years. And this is where the Pharisees get it wrong. They pray and expect praise. They turn up to feasts and they expect the position of honor because of their religious practices. They expect to be held in higher esteem and get whisked to the front of the queue because of their religious deeds. And there's something that God wants to speak into, I think, today about what we expect from God when we give. And they do something seemingly godly for spiritual return and reward. Yet that has never been the call of the people of God. It's interesting. Deuteronomy 14 says this: be sure to set aside 1/10 of all your fields and produce each year to give back to God as an offering. It doesn't say set aside 1/10 of your field and you will be blessed in abundance with wealth. It doesn't say set aside 1/10 and give to God what is due to him and people will think of you highly. No, Leviticus chapter 7, again, a tithe, 10% of everything from the land, whether grain or soil or fruit or trees, belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. There is something holy about giving back to God, saying, God, I love you. Thank you for what you've been doing. God, this is a blessing from you. And I think there are 3 principles when we tithe, when we give, that we are saying to God about who he is and who we are. The first thing is we say, God, I trust you as my provider. I trust you as my provider. For the Pharisees, the belief system and the safety net was, I have done enough and therefore God is going to be pleased and proud of me. It's interesting, isn't it? God's generosity isn't shaped by who we are and what we've done and where we are going to go. It's shaped by our heart and how we give. Otherwise, religious obligation causes our hearts to disengage. I've given to God, and he hasn't given anything back to me. I've donated to this cause, I didn't get a return. No, we're called to say, God, I trust you. I love you. Here's the best of what I have as a heart's position to God. Second thing, giving to God, the best of the first of what we have is an act of worship. We say, God, I worship you. I love you. The Pharisees' practice was shaped around public recognition rather than private surrender. The Christian faith is all about private surrender. Worship drifts for them from delight in God to performance-based religion for other people to see. This is just mission critical to who we are. God, I surrender to you. God, I know you love me. I know you see me. Forgive me. I worship you. And then thirdly, God, I give you everything because everything comes from you and therefore everything I give back to you. For the Pharisees, giving and practices of giving reinforced their status in community rather than in humility surrendering to God. Their pride was wrapped up in, look what I have done. Look how impressive I am. Like, look at what God has done for me because what I have done for him. When the gospel is that when we were at our worst, God runs towards us. And therefore, we need to remember God's original call upon our lives. Love God with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our might, and have no other gods but him. And I guess the big question that I want to ask today is, when it comes to money, how do we consciously and subconsciously allow that to play into our understanding of God's and what we worship and what we lean upon for security? How do we respond to Jesus' call to love God with all our heart and have no other gods in a world where money literally runs the world and for most of us feels like a scarcity? And how do we honor him financially? How do we say, God, I trust that you are my provider. God, I trust that when I give, and I give, and when I give, and when I give, it comes from a place of worship. I give you the best of what I have. And God, everything I have comes from you. And therefore, everything I give back to you. And so, can we hold these on the screen just for a moment? Is that all right? I want to break out at this point. I want to ask the question today: which of these three statements do you find hardest? And what would it look like for you to begin practicing trust in God this week with these three statements? I wonder which of these statements you find hardest, and which ones you find easiest to dive into. Actually, no, I won't do that. I was going to do a show of hands, but that's probably really mean to do. And so let's dive into Mark chapter 7, verse 6. He replied, Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you people pretending to be good. Isn't that a bit of a burn? Like, Isaiah was right about you people pretending to be good. You know, most other translations use the words hypocrite. Hypocrite is someone who says one thing and does another. It comes from a Greek word where you put a mask over your face and pretend to be somebody else. And the hypocrite in this passage in the Dead Sea Scrolls refers to being stubborn of heart. Being stubborn of heart. It refers to us quite literally following the desires of another heart as opposed to the law of the Lord. Delighting in what God has done. In general, in the ancient Jewish communities, the Christian context, a hypocrite was someone whose interpretation of what God is asking of them differs from their behavior and actions. I've got a good example of this. This week, I went and got my beautiful bike made legal. For 2 years, I'd been riding this thing with a motor that was 3 times the size that it should have been, and a little throttle, which apparently is illegal. And so this week we spent, it is illegal, yeah. This week we spent quite a lot of money and quite a lot of effort. I drove all the way to Bournemouth to put a smaller engine in the back at quite a high cost to make sure that when we're driving around, we are legal on the roads. Now, why is this important? Why is this important? For me, I felt like an absolute hypocrite driving around the streets, driving to church, meeting people pastorally, people knowing who I am as a priest and as a Christian, yet saying, look, obey the law. Follow what God is calling you to do. Yet on the other hand, I was bombing around on this thing. Why is this important? It's because I think, we are called. The Lord should convict us. He should be able to say to us, hey, there's that one thing. There's this thing that is wonky. There's this thing that is off. There's this thing, people are still cracking up us. There's this thing that is not quite right. And I think so often it comes back to a heart, doesn't it? For me, I was thinking, it's so stupid. I can put both my kids, I can do the commute. It's so much more better for the environment. Yeah, there's a list of reasons. I can get here without any carbon footprint. I can get to meetings on time. Like you're not sitting in a coffee shop waiting for my ADHD brain to catch up, and I can be there on time. There's 101 lists of reasons. It's going to get me fitter when I don't use the throttle. There's 101 reasons why I shouldn't have changed the bike. But there is one reason to, and that is the Lord cares about our heart. Our heart. I guess the question that I really want to ask today is, what practices do we partake in that make us look holier than we really are? And what is there in our life that God would call us a hypocrite in? Is there anything that you can do today to take drastic measures to know that our heart is back in line with God's call for us. Is there stuff you need to pick up or leave behind today? And it's not necessarily exclusive to giving. There is an external show of love to God that starts with personifying our heart towards him, our heart's position towards him. Mark 7 verse 13, you make the word of God useless by putting your own teachings in its place. I want us to approach this with two God-honoring practical steps. The first is to say to God, you are my maker and my provider. The fundamental thing we need to know about God is that he gives and gives and gives and gives. And the second thing is, I give back to you. Lord, thank you for what you've given. Lord, it comes from you. It belongs to you. I give it back. And the second thing is to say, God, I do this as an act of rebellion against the world around me. A world that wants us to teach that money is ours, that what you have is yours, that you can find your security in it, that it's fine that you work your whole life for more and more and more. And some of the best acts of giving are the most rebellious acts of giving. We see this in the Gospels, don't we? Like the woman with the alabaster jar who comes to Jesus and she smashes her whole inheritance, that is this jar of perfume, and says, God, I love you. Jesus, I love you. Here's an act of worship. And she smashes the jar. And the disciples are like, Jesus, this is wasteful. And he's like, no, this is an act of worship. He loves it. Like Zacchaeus, the guy up the tree, the little guy, he then becomes a Christian. When he becomes a Christian, he invites his whole friend network, other tax collectors, to come and have a banquet with Jesus to show off his new master, to say, I'm not doing this tax collecting thing anymore. I'm following Jesus. This is an extravagant banquet. This is like, imagine like a banker in the city of London renting out a Mayfair, like restaurant to put on a show for who Jesus is. It's an extravagant gift. Or the woman at the well. The woman at the well, I think, is one of the most extravagant moments of giving. She turns to her community and she says, hey, come meet a man who shows me everything I have ever done. Imagine inviting people into our lives in that kind of way. How do you enable your love of God to set in motion not just a biblical worldview, but everyday actions that demonstrates your gratitude for who God is and what he has done in your life, and your desire to serve God and love him with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength? Because this is the people that we are called to be. Verse 20 to 23, he went on to say, what comes out of a person is what makes them unclean. Evil thoughts come from the inside of a person's heart. So do sexual sins, stealing and murder, adultery and greed, hate and cheating come from a person's heart too. So too the desires that are not pure and wanting what belongs to others. And so do telling lies about others, and a person's proud and being foolish. All these evil things come from inside a person to make them unclean. When we hear this is not necessarily new information to us today, but to the first century listeners, this would have been wild. Like any set of laws, the law of Moses in the Old Testament is things like don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't murder, honor your mother and father. These are things that happen outside our body. What Jesus does is he takes the law of Moses and takes it one step further and makes it ultimately not about what happens externally, but what happens internally. Jesus is commanding our thought life, our emotional health, our mental attitudes to be in line with his teachings and his heart for humanity. John Marcus says Jesus identifies the real cause of impurity as evil thoughts of the heart. Toby sat on the front row. I'm sorry, Toby. Imagine I came and I punched Toby. Do it. Like that would be one thing, right? But what would be worse is me to harbour hate, to be thinking this whole talk, oh, Toby sat on the front row. Like I'm gonna knock him out. Like I'm not gonna knock you out, I promise. But you can try. Totally throw me that. And so but it's like harbouring the thought harboring the thought that leads to the action. I don't know about you, but most of the things that I do that are stupid are things that I've dwelt upon and thought through. And, it's not just things that are spontaneous, but things that I've allowed to linger in my life. No longer can we be seen just to do the good thing and therefore assume that we are good according to the law. But Jesus has a far more holistic approach to how we love God and what it means for us to daily, hourly, and minute by minute honor him and to love him with all our heart, all our soul, all our mind. What does it mean for us? Is stealing, adultery, murder come from an inner emotion caused by temptation or even arrogance in our understanding of who we are and what we deserve and what should be ours? And there's a flow to it. We see something, we desire it, we act, and then we destroy our God-given image within us when we act in this way. We see something, we desire it, we act, and we destroy our God-given image within us. Yet the call of those who are trying to do their best to love God with all their heart and become more like Jesus and surrender our lives to Christ, there's a different flow at work. All our temptations and our feelings and our being, we pray over saying, Lord, take them. Lord, create in me a more holy, more pure, more set apart being for your glory. And therefore we get to rewire our thinking from rather we see something, we desire, we act, and we destroy our God-given image. We move to a different model where we see something, we call into question our desires, we act, and we bring glory to God. There's a different set of rewiring. We see something, we call into question our desires, we act in a holy way, and we bring glory to God. And when it comes to money, I think God is calling us into this mindset, which is not we see it, we want it, we depend upon it, we build our life around it. But to come into conclusion, I think we are here to say, Lord, this is a gift from you. Thank you that you provide for us. Lord, allow me to bless your name and honor you with all that I have. John Marcus, one of the theologians we've been tracking with, said this: Jesus breaks us out of the boundaries imposed by traditions and law and even logic. The challenges he possessed is whether people will continue to take their point of departure from those boundaries and will learn to see things through his eyes. And so I want to ask the question again. 3 questions. Will we say today, God, I trust that you are my provider. God, I trust that you are my provider. God, I give you the best of the first of what I have as an act of worship. And thirdly, God, everything I have comes from you. And therefore, everything I have, I give back to you as a moment of praise. And so I want to talk about giving and what it might mean for us. I want to ask a few things today. Could we just jump onto the giving slides? Is that all right? I want to just talk about 3 key myths, and then I'm going to ask us to have a moment of reflection where we can talk about giving. So 3 key myths about Church of England, about unlimited. Firstly is that the Church of England gives us money. What you'll see in our actual expenditure in just a moment that we give back. The Church of England pays for me, they pay for my salary, they pay my housing costs, but they don't pay for any of this. The coffee is paid for by you guys. The lights that paid for you guys, these emergency heaters paid for by you guys. The coffee trailer paid for by you guys. The Church of England doesn't give us money, we give back to the Church of England. Second thing, people say, oh, well, you're a wealthy church. And the truth is that we're not. We have about £30,000 in the bank, and we are losing money every single year. And third thing is that they say, well, the government must pay for it, right? This is an amazing old building, right? The government must upkeep it. And the answer is no. That responsibility lies upon us as members of Unlimited. And so last year, this is our true figures from last year. Last year, we spent around £41,000 and our income was 39. The beautiful thing about this is that we were expecting about £29,000 of income, and we were expecting significantly less expenditure, but such as having a medieval building. And I'm going to come on to that. And so this is our real figures. Can we jump on to the next slide? Is that all right? So this is how we spent our money. You'll see that, this is the income. This is what we got in. So gift aid, we got £6,500 of gift aid come on in. The monthly giving is the thing that you'll see is the biggest wedge by a long way, and 12,800 roughly. Grants for a team. So we've got some people working behind the scenes that are working on grants for us. We don't employ them. We kind of contract them on a freelance basis, and you'll see that we were given nearly £9,000 to enable a team that will work on future funding for us. You'll see merch sales. If you're wearing a hoodie, you're part of this team. So £1,116 income from that. Operational refunds. I confess that I bought a few robot hoovers and non-robot hoovers and have returned them. And there are other stuff that we have returned over the weeks and months of 2025. You'll see it's quite a big amount that's been returned. Unlimited coffee. Unlimited coffee, the income, 4,200 and something pounds. It's quite a big amount of income for us. And then venue hire. So this place, you'll see in the week, medieval sword fighting, and the council runs a lot of youth-based projects in this space. There's a couple of groups that meet in this place, and we've got nearly £4,000 of income from that. So that's our income. Can we jump on to the next one? Is that okay? So the next one is our expenditure. This is where it gets a bit fun. So our expenditure, just over £9,000 keeping this medieval building alive and at work. That does not include building work. It does not include any restoration. Yeah, like you can just look around and you can see what it costs to keep this place open. And there is a lot of work needed on this building going forward. So that's one thing. Building and maintenance. So we got some restricted funds, and so there's stuff that we can only spend on certain building aspects, and so there's some of that. So in the building and the maintenance, that's kind of like insurance and heating and lighting, and then this is what we've spent on like material stuff, like fixing stuff around the place, or putting money into the heaters that are now broken, that kind of stuff. Common fund. So this thing people ask me about quite a lot. Common fund is the biggest wedge in here. This is our giving back to the Church of England. This is us saying, thank you, we love being part of the Church of England, we love what it brings, and this is what we give back. And it works out to be about £86 per head of people who are adults who are regularly attending per month. Unlimited is how it works out. Sunday services, £3,161. Unlimited coffee, £4,200. Unlimited coffee has paid itself this year, which is beautiful. And the Vicar's discretionary fund, this is like helping people out when they are in need, which is this tiny little wedge just right here, which is about £400. Is this helpful to see? Does it make sense? So this is our income, this is our expenditure, and what I'm going to ask, can we put those two together? Actually, what is the most helpful screen to see? Is the expenditure helpful, or is the income helpful? What do people want to spend some time having on screen? Should we leave it on this one, just so you can see what we spend our money on? So what I'm going to ask going forward is that we give. And that we give, there'll be some people in our community that can give £500-600 a month easily. There'll be other people that could give £10 a month. And every single gift is not really about the money. It's about our heart. Saying, God, I trust you. I love you. The first thing that comes out of our bank account when we get paid is our giving. Is what we do. And there's a few good ways to give. The first way is by direct debit. We love these little machines over here. But if you give regularly on one of those machines, can I ask you to set up a direct debit? Because it costs us a lot less. These guys obviously take a percentage, and it costs a lot less if you give by direct debit. And then if you go online to the website, unlimitedchurch.church, forward slash give. You can find some other ways to give if you're giving a small amount. If you give over £30 and you are a taxpayer, please fill it in a gift aid form. You can find it on the website. It's easy to do there. Or fill in one of these with your details, because we can claim back 25p for every pound that is given. And I just want to give you some little headlines as to what it could equal. £10. If you were to give £10 a month, that would pay for 4 coffees for young people at the coffee trailer every month. £22 a month would cover our cleaning and consumables bill. The reason why the toilet is clean, which I think we all want, right, is because we pay for consumables. £35 a month will fully fund our kids' program going forwards. £50 a month pays for pastoral coffees and student hangouts. £65 a month pays for Christmas, Easter and whole church hangouts. £85 a month pays for digital subscriptions, like our accounting software, like Church Suite that you guys are using, like streaming tools, like the stuff that you see on the screens. This all comes at a cost of about £85 a month. Sunday services cost us about £116 a month. If you like the fact we've got breakfast and coffee, may I ask you to give towards it? And then if you're feeling particularly generous, £250 a month would pay for our building insurance for the year. And so I'm going to ask for just a moment of quiet. Lord, would you come up and would you play some keys just behind us? And so I want to just ask that you ponder and pray. And you have this in front of you. There's orange ones and there's blue ones. They are both the same, just that the orange ones are slightly older. But can I ask that you just ponder and pray? And just say, Lord, is there any amount that you're calling me to give? Or, Lord, I'm giving this amount at the moment. Is there anything you're calling me to change about that? And can I ask that you just take a moment genuinely to pray? For some people, it will not be possible in this room. I'm very aware of that. But for others, it's a moment of sort of generosity. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to ponder this. And either fill out today, you can think, today I know I can give X. And then Laura's going to sing one more song. We'll run wildly over time. And I'm going to ask you just to put it face down on here, because giving should be anonymous. And so there's that. And then you might want to take it home and just ponder your budgets. Think about what's coming up and give a moment. But the other thing you might think, I'm a student right now. Next year, I'm going to be earning 25 grand a year, 30 grand a year, whatever it may be. You might think, actually, these years have been really pivotal to me, unlimited. And so actually right now I can give £10 a month. But next year when I'm off as a graduate, or next year when I know that the payment's coming through, I'm going to give a gift of X. And so can I ask that you just ponder this for a moment? We're going to spend a moment praying, and then we're going to worship together. And if you need a form or a pen, I'm going to be sat on the sofa. Come and find me in just a sec.